Today, we're diving into the hidden and honestly terrifying realities of the gig economy. We're going to break down 3 true delivery survival stories. We're pulling back the curtain on what really happens when the sun goes down and drivers are sent out into the unknown. So let's jump right in and see what's waiting out there in the dark.
You know, we usually view late-night delivery as just a simple, mundane convenience. It's just a quick side hustle, right? But the reality of these night shifts completely shatters that illusion. For the drivers out there, a totally routine drop-off can, in a split second, turn into a literal fight for survival, where every darkened porch and isolated driveway is a potential trap. To set our baseline before we jump into the main stories, let's look at some rapid-fire horrors drivers have actually reported in the source material. Imagine being asked to bring an order to a dark back door, only to realize the door is equipped with a one-way latch. Or, get this, another driver discovered a customer had been tracking their personal vehicle's GPS long after the delivery was over. No way, right? It just proves that these deeply unsettling encounters aren't just isolated, one-off incidents. They're a systemic risk of the job.
All right, let's move on to our first deep dive, the broken car ruse. We're setting the scene back in 2017, with the 21-year-old driver navigating a heavily wooded, totally unlit rural area. Picture this. You're driving in the pitch black. The driver pulls onto a long, isolated driveway and immediately spots a man waiting out there in the dark. He's wearing a dark red hoodie, standing near a parked car with no lights on, and he's standing perfectly still, hands stuffed in his pockets, just watching the driver approach.
Now, when the driver gets out, the man doesn't even ask for his food. Instead, he immediately launches into this rehearsed script, asking for help to look under the hood of his quote-unquote broken-down car. And this instantly triggered a cold wave of dread in the driver. Why? Well, because the driver had actually just driven past that exact spot a few minutes earlier, and that car definitely had not been there. So here's the crucial point. The driver glances at their own car's headlights reflecting off the man's vehicle, and right there in the glare, they see it. Just the slightest movement. Someone was crouching down, hiding behind the back bumper, waiting in ambush. It's like a scene straight out of a horror movie.
The driver didn't even say a word. They dropped the food, threw the car in reverse, and absolutely peeled out of that driveway. As they backed away, the man's nervous energy just vanished. It was replaced by this slow, knowing grin, like it was all a game to him. And later, the driver learned a chilling detail from the police. That broken car the man was pretending to fix, it had been reported stolen over 100 miles away. To put that into perspective, that car was brought a very long way just to set up this trap.
Let's leave those isolated dirt roads behind and head straight into our second story, the Latex glove customer. This takes place at a large city apartment complex during a late night shift.
In this account, a driver is dropping off an order and notices a man standing under a streetlight across the street, just staring at the building. When the driver comes back out, the man is still there, but now he's reappeared wearing a black trench coat and, inexplicably, blue latex gloves. I mean, it wasn't cold outside and he wasn't wearing a face mask. Those bright blue gloves looked completely out of place and deeply, deeply unsettling. As the driver nervously walks toward their car, this man starts matching their pace from across the street. He keeps repeating this phrase in a calm, almost robotic voice. "You need to go home. You need to go home." And then, the literal second the driver reaches their car door, the man suddenly breaks into a breathless, terrifying charge, hauling fast right across the pavement directly at them. The driver scrambles inside and locks the doors just in the nick of time, right as the man grabs the handle. But he doesn't try to break the glass. Instead, he just leans his face practically against the window and whispers this incredibly eerie sign-off: "Have a good night." And just like that, he vanishes back into the darkness. It really leaves you wondering why on earth he put on those gloves in the first place, right? Finally, let's explore our third story, the motel note. This is more of a psychological slow burn that happened to a long-distance driver staying at a single-floor motel on the edge of a small town on a random Thursday. Right at check-in, the atmosphere of this town was already incredibly chilling. The motel desk clerk gave the driver a very specific, weird warning. She explicitly told them, don't answer the door for anyone and to call the front office immediately if they heard anything weird outside. Talk about a massive red flag right off the bat. While the driver was unloading their gear, they noticed an older, dark green pickup truck idling just 2 parking spaces away. It was completely dark, headlights off. The driver couldn't make out a face, but they could see the person sitting perfectly still, both hands gripping the steering wheel,
just sitting there, watching them unload. Notice how the pacing of the terror really slows down here. The fear didn't end with that evening encounter. Later that night, right around midnight, as the driver tried to sleep, they heard slow, heavy footsteps creep up and stop right outside their door. Then the sound of the doorknob being quietly tested, back and forth. The driver was forced to wait in terrifying silence in that motel room until eventually passing out from pure exhaustion around 5 a.m. The next morning, the driver walks out to their truck and finds a small, torn square of a local newspaper shoved underneath the windshield wiper. Now, it wasn't just trash. Written in pen on the back of this scrap were two things: the driver's specific room number and their truck's exact license plate number. This proved the stalker and the green pickup hadn't just picked a random target. They had been actively watching, waiting, and taking detailed notes. Needless to say, the driver left town immediately and never looked back.
Look, we all want to believe there are rational explanations for anomalies like these. We want to be polite, right? But the overarching lesson from these accounts, and it's absolutely crucial, is that a simple food drop-off requires hypervigilance. The most important tool you have is your instinct. You have to trust your gut over your desire to be polite. Actually, scratch that. You must trust your gut. If a situation feels off, it probably is.
So, as we conclude our analysis of these truly terrifying accounts, think about your next late-night delivery, or even your next time ordering food to your home. Ask yourself this lingering question drawn directly from the aftermath of these encounters. When the porch light goes out and the street goes quiet, who is lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment? Keep your eyes open out there, and thanks for joining me